Welcome to OSBT Standard Procedure 28, Power Industrial Truck Forklift Program Employee Education. Powered industrial trucks. This program has been developed to reduce the risk of physical injury or property damage in areas where powered industrial trucks are in operation. It also brings OSBT into compliance with federal, state, and local law. Basis for this program. Material handling is a significant safety concern as injuries and property damage can occur if proper procedures and cautions are not used. Thus, management has implemented a Powered Industrial Safety Program. Our Powered Industrial Vehicle Program comprises of the following elements: assignment of responsibilities, operator training, pre-use inspections, maintenance procedures, fueling procedures, program audit, and record keeping. Powered industrial trucks. A powered industrial truck is an important piece of equipment that is used to transfer material, products, machinery at the workplace. When used properly, powered industrial trucks are a great asset. However, when operated incorrectly, they can cause tremendous damage to property and have the potential to kill operators and pedestrians. Why you need to be careful. Powered industrial trucks are not toys. You may very well lose your job if you treat a powered industrial truck, especially a forklift like one. Common forklift accidents. When a person is struck by a forklift, stock is shoved into and falls upon another person or upon the forklift operator. The operator is injured when getting on or off the forklift. When the forklift collides with another forklift. When a forklift falls off the dock or tips over. Forklift falls when the truck pulls away. The forklift tips over because the rated capacity is exceeded or the load is handled improperly. Horseplay, or lack of safe training. Training program implementation. Training shall consist of a combination of formal instruction, practical training, evaluation of operators' performance in the workplace. Powered industrial truck definition. A mobile, power-propelled truck used to carry, push, pull, lift, stack, or tier materials. Excluded are vehicles used for earth moving and over-the-road hauling. Commonly known as forklifts, pallet trucks, rider trucks, fork trucks, or lift trucks, and can be powered through electric or combustion engines. Characteristics of powered industrial trucks. Each type of powered industrial truck has its own unique characteristics and some inherent hazards. To be effective, your training will address the unique characteristics of each type of vehicle you will be trained to operate. Hazards of forklift operations. Vehicle operations: load capacity, lift height, load stability, visibility, steering, speed, turning, refueling, and maintenance. Work environment: floors and surfaces, pedestrians, obstacles, blind spots, narrow aisles, intersections, and docks and trailers. Employee requirements. Evaluate the workplace for hazards related to forklift operation. Determine which type of industrial truck or forklift is appropriate. Ensure safe operation of all vehicles per the standard. Train employees before allowing operation of machinery. Only allow authorized employees to operate forklift or industrial truck. Ensure proper maintenance of all vehicles per standard. Operator training. Safe operations. The employer shall ensure that each power industrial truck operator is competent to operate a powered industrial truck safely, as demonstrated by successful completion of the training and evaluation specified in the OSHA standard. Prior to permitting an employee to operate a powered industrial truck, except for training purposes, the employer shall ensure that each operator has successfully completed the required training or previously received the appropriate training. Training program implementation. Trainees may operate a powered industrial truck only when under direct supervision of a person who has the knowledge, training, and experience to train operators and evaluate their competence, and where such operation does not endanger the trainee or any other employees. Training topics: operating instructions, warning and precautions, differences from automobile, controls and instrumentation, engine and motor operation, steering and maneuvering, visibility, surface conditions, pedestrian traffic, fork and attachment adaptation and operation, vehicle capacity and stability, vehicle inspection, refueling, charging, composition and stability of loads, load manipulation, stacking and unstacking, narrow aisles and restricted areas. Refresher training and evaluation. Refresher training required when unsafe operation, accident or near miss, evaluation indicates need, different type of equipment introduced, workplace condition changes, or at least once every 3 years. Take a moment to review the components of a forklift truck diagram. Manuals. Each powered industrial truck will be equipped with an operator's manual. Operators should read the manual before operating the powered industrial truck. The program's administrator will contact dealer or distributor for lost or damaged manuals. Manuals are an important part for the training program. Use the operator's manual from the forklift your trainees will be operating from. Make sure each trainee understands the importance of becoming familiar with the manual. Operators must familiarize themselves with the operator's manual before operating the forklift. Inspecting and vehicle starting. Operators must do a forklift inspection before each shift. They should inspect the forklift for problems or damage that may affect the machine's ability to operate in a safe manner. The forklift shall not be operated in an unsafe condition. Inspection sheets are included in the binder. OSHA does not require documentation of a forklift daily inspections. It is best to document the inspections. Forklift daily inspection checklist. To begin the inspection, place the transmission control levers in neutral, lower the forks to the floor, apply the parking brake, and shut off the engine. Next, check the engine crank oil level. Check the radiator water level. Never open the radiator cap on a hot engine. Never add water to an overheated engine. Check the fuel level and refuel if necessary. Make sure the filler cap is placed and undamaged. And check the hydraulic sump tank oil level. Inspect all tires. Check for cuts, breaks, or uneven wear and inflation level. Remove all material embedded in the treads and wipe off any oil, grease, or gasoline. Make sure that the battery is securely attached to the vehicle. Make sure the horn is operational. Make sure the dashboard, instruments, and warning lights are working properly after starting the vehicle. If your vehicle is equipped with an hour meter, make sure it is working. Check the tail and headlights. Turn the steering wheels both ways till it stops. Make sure that the steering does not feel loose. You should not hear any squealing before it reaches the stops. Test the pedal brake. Make sure that the pedal does not feel spongy or drift while under pressure. Forklift daily inspection checklist. While holding down the brake pedal, release and re-engage the parking brake to make sure it is operating properly. Finally, check for any obvious damage or leaks. After moving the forklift, check the ground below the resting position for any leakage material. Be sure to record all of your inspections in the daily checklist. Take a minute to view the checklist. Some additional checks for battery operated units. Check the electrolyte level. Check all battery connections. Check wire condition. And use proper PPE. Chemical splash goggles are needed when servicing batteries. Some additional items to consider for LP operated units. When a propane tank is low and needs changing, shut off the valve with the machine running to use up all the propane in the line before the valve is removed. Use proper PPE. Gloves and safety goggles are needed when changing propane tanks to reduce freeze burn exposures. Personal protective equipment, hard hats, safety glasses, foot protection, gloves, proper clothing. Make sure operators know which PPE is required and how it should be worn. Also make sure they are aware of any fire and emergency precautions. The PPE used by power industrial truck operators will be included in your company's personal protective equipment program. Entering and exiting the vehicle. Always use the 3-point system to maintain sure footing while entering and exiting the forklift. This means that you should have 2 hands and 1 foot should always be in contact with the unit at all times. Always dismount your forklift facing it. Seatbelt. If the forklift has a seatbelt, it must always be worn. In case of an accident, the seatbelt will help keep you within the protective framework of the unit. Picking up a load. Determine the nature of your load. Make sure it will not exceed the capacity limits of your vehicle. Center the forks to evenly distribute the weight of the load. Adjust the forks, spreading the forks matches the pallet of the object being lifted. Make sure that the load is balanced and secured. Approach the load slowly straight on with the forks parallel to the floor. Drive and place the forks under the load as far as possible. Keep the mass of the fork in the upright position before inserting the forks into the pallet. Slowly lift the load a few inches and tilt it back slightly. Only tilt it back enough to stabilize it. Never take your eyes off the load. If you are lifting a load away from a stack, slowly back away to clear the stack and then slowly lower it to the lowest position where it can still clear ground obstructions. Traveling with a load. Pedestrians have the right of way. Keep load tilted slightly back. Only raise the forks high enough to clear obstructions. Keep forks 2 to 4 inches from the floor. Always drive in such a manner to give the maximum stability to your load. Before moving, always check behind and around the unit for pedestrians and other traffic. Drive at a safe speed, slowing down when approaching intersections and going around corners. Traveling with load. Sound the horn when approaching intersections and corners. Exercise extreme caution when driving over non-standard surfaces. Avoid running over any obstructions no matter what the size. Always look in the direction you are traveling and be aware of any possible vision obstructions. Watch closely for overhead obstructions. Keep an eye out for fire lines, sprinkler systems, door frames, and light fixtures. Placing a load. If you are placing a load on a stack or tier, approach to within 1 foot of the stack with the load still in the lowered position. Raise the load slowly to the desired height and inch forward to place the load over the deposit location. With the load over the deposit location, slowly level the forks and carefully lower the load. When the load is resting solidly and the forks are free, slowly back away from the vehicle. When the forks have fully cleared the load in the stack of the tier, lower the forks before moving left or right before exiting the deposit area. Ramps and inclines. If empty, drive in reverse up the incline and drive forward down the incline. If loaded, drive forward up the incline and drive in reverse down the incline. How to prepare to load and unload a truck. Set the vehicle's brakes up. Chock the vehicle's wheels. Install fixed jacks to support a semi-trailer that is not coupled to a tractor to prevent it from unpending. Post signs warning not to move a vehicle. Check the height of the vehicle's entrance door clears the forklift by a height of at least 5 centimeters or 2 inches. How to prepare to load/unload a truck. Make sure the floors can support the combined weight of the forklift and the load. Inspect the interior of a vehicle for the following: trash, loose objects, obstructions, holes or weak floors, poor lighting, or a low overhead clearance. Install anti-slipping material into any area that could be a hazard because of weather conditions. Ensure that the dock and dock plates are clear of obstructions and not oily or wet. Speed. Follow the guidelines to determine a proper speed. Operate at a speed that will allow you to stop in a safe manner. Observe all authorized plant speed limits. Slow down and sound the horn at cross aisles or at any other location where vision is obstructed. Drive slowly when crossing dock boards, bridge plates, railroad tracks, or any other ground obstruction. Slow down for wet and slippery surfaces. Drive slowly when moving in tight areas. Use appropriate speeds when handling loads. Maintain a safe speed, especially when moving backwards. Turning. Most forklifts utilize rear wheel turning. This allows the driver to make sharper turns in tight spaces. Caution must be used when taking an extra wide swing with the forklift. Always check vehicle clearance before you turn. Make sure there's enough room to clear the forks and the rest of your vehicle. Always brake before you begin a turn. This will give you more control than if you brake in the middle of a turn. Turning the steering wheel is using a smooth sweeping motion unless when maneuvering at a very low speed. Visibility. Seen and be seen. Only drive if you can see clearly around your workplace. A view from a forklift is often blocked by the load. A test of good visibility is being able to see a person crouching down 5 feet away from the forklift's operator's seat. If you can't see over the load, drive in reverse. Raising the load to see under the load is not a safe practice. The forklift might become unstable. When driving into a darker area or into bright sunshine, stop and let your eyes adjust to the light. Be aware of any blind spots created by the mast, the lift cylinder, or any other part of the forklift. Even small parts of the forklift may block out large areas of your workplace. Stopped and parking. If you plan on leaving your vehicle, federal regulations require you to turn the power off if you will move to where the vehicle will not be in view, or you will be more than 25 feet away from more than 25 feet away from the vehicle. Take a minute to look at this picture and notice the fulcrum point. Center of gravity. The forklift can be compared with a seesaw in its working principle. If two equal weights are placed at the ends of the seesaw would be in a state of balance. Center of gravity. The single point in which an object is balanced in all directions. A load center of gravity determines its stability. Generally speaking, the lower the center of gravity, the more stable the load. A load center of gravity is also influenced by the motion of the forklift and the angle's driving surface. Therefore, never travel with an elevated load. Fulcrum point. The point at which a lever pivots is known as the fulcrum point. This is usually near the forward wheels. The weight of the load is counterbalanced by a counterweight at the rear of the truck. Simply stated, you must always be sure that the weight on the side the lever is greater than the weight on the lower side of the lever, or the stability will be compromised. Center of gravity. Should the weight increase on one end, then to keep the seesaw balance on the other must occur. An equal amount must be placed on each end. The fulcrum must be moved closer to the larger weight. Load center. Distance from the vertical face to the forks of the load is the center of gravity. Load capacity. The capacity of the forklift is the weight that you can safely lift at the specific load center. To keep the forklift stable and avoid it tipping over, take this into account. The weight and shape of the load, the height you are going to lift the load, forward and backward tilt of the load, the area in which you need to travel. The load shape affects the center of gravity and the load stability. The stability triangle. Almost all counterbalance-powered industrial trucks have a three-point system that the vehicle uses support at the 3 points. When the points are connected with an imaginary lines, these 3-point support, A, B, and C, forms a triangle called the stability triangle. The center of gravity is the point at which the load is centered. When the vehicle is loaded, the combined center of gravity, CG, shifts towards the line BC. Theoretically, the maximum load would result in CG at the BC line. In actual practice, the combined CG should never be at the BC line. Take a look at this diagram. The vehicle on the left is stable, and the vehicle on the right is unstable and will continue to tip over. Forklift stability. The center of gravity, and therefore the stability of the load truck, is affected by the following factors: size, weight, shape, position of the load, height of which the load is elevated, the amount of forward or backward tilt, tire pressure, and the dynamic forces created when the truck is moving. Identification plate. Engine information, load capacity, serial number, weight of truck, type designation. Every industrial truck will have an identification plate. Attachments. Types of attachments: forklift extension, man basket, hitch adapter, winch, truss boom, carpet pole, bucket. Attachments come in many different varieties. No attachment should ever be used without consent from the manufacturer. Use the instructor's manual to explain the different types and the proper way to use them. Consider other vehicles. When other vehicles are operating in the same work area, follow these guidelines. Always pass to the right of oncoming vehicles. Always maintain a safe distance from trucks ahead of you moving in the same direction, at least 3 truck lengths. Do not pass other trucks in inspections, blind spots, or yet other dangerous locations. Yield to the right at intersections. Use only the horn as a warning signal. Do not sound the horn to attract other employees. Operational checks. Non-moving checks. Gauges, lights, horn, backup alarm, blinking warning, light, operation tilt and lift mechanism. Check the parking brake. Moving checks. Put on the seat belt, check the running brakes, check the steering, and look for oil and water leaks on the floor. Loading and unloading. Before raising a load, understand the approximate weight of the load, the location of the load's center of gravity. Inspect the load for stability projections, damaged pallets before lifting. Restack unstable loads. Never place weight on the back of a lift auto to increase the capacity. And towing is always done from the rear tow pin. Carry loads as low as possible at all times. Tilt the mast backwards to prevent load sliding off. Make sure forks are centered on either side of the mast. Make sure forks are centered when they enter the pallet. Make sure side shift is centralized before moving the load. Do not raise the load with just one fork. Traveling. Always look in the direction of travel. Keep body inside the cage. When moving, the mast must not be raised. Sound the horn. Operate at safe speeds. When turning, watch rear end swing and clearance under tow over overhead installations. Avoid loose objects or holes. If load blocks views, travel in reverse. Never carry passengers. Pedestrians always have the right of way. Safe distance from edge of ramps or docks. Never eat or drink. No stunt driving or horseplay. Ramps and railroads. Never turn on a ramp. On ramps to load should be upgraded. Ascend or descend ramps slowly. Railroad tracks are to be crossed diagonally. Never park within 8 feet of the center of railroad tracks. Railroads and trucks. Truck brakes must be set into chocks or blocks and must be placed under the rear wheels. Fixed jacks may be necessary on uncoupled semi-trailers to prevent impending during loading or loading. Handbrakes should always be set to prevent railroad cars from moving whenever dock boards or bridge plates are in position. Wheel stops should be made to also prevent movement. Make sure the floor, truck, or rail car is strong enough to support your vehicle and its load. When crossing railroad tracks, reduce your speed and always approach at a 45-degree angle, cross diagonally. Never park within 8 feet of the center of a railroad track. Docks. Inspect the docking plate. Check the trailer floor condition. Trailer wheels are chalked. Nose of the trailer is supported by the tractor or a fixed jack. When parking, lower the forks, set the gears to neutral, set the parking brake, turn off the key, and remove the key. General driving rules. Do not extend your arms or legs beyond the cab or beyond the sides of your vehicle. Always keep your head, hands, and feet out of the lift uprights. Do not drive with wet or greasy hands or feet. Avoid running over any loose objects. Avoid sudden stops and starts. Never use reverse as a brake and never reverse direction while in motion. Always come to a complete stop before shifting gears. Watch out for other people. Always watch for pedestrians and give them the right of way. Never allow anyone to pass beneath the elevated portion of the truck, either loaded or unloaded. Do not allow bystanders when stacking loads or when dealing with elevated loads. Never allow anyone to hitch a ride on your vehicle or to ride the forks. People may only be moved on an approved safety platform or a man basket and tied off. Fueling the unit, propane. Operators must wear their PPE. Never change the tank near an open flame or heat source. Close the fuel valve, but keep the engine running. This purge propane from the fuel line. Shut off the engine after the engine stops. Remove the tank carefully to avoid freeze burn. And put the cylinder down gently. Do not drop, dent, or damage it. Fueling the unit with propane. Store the cylinder outside in its upright position in an area where it can be secured and protected from being struck. Check condition of all valves and seals before connecting the new tank. Position the tank so that liquid propane does not come in contact with the relief valve. Make sure it looks like its locking pins engaged into the cylinder. Make sure that the valve is closed tightly. If there is a leak, you should smell it. Propane is heavier than air. If the leak is detected, remove the forklift from use until the leak is repaired. Fueling unit, gasoline or diesel. Operators must wear PPE. Do not smoke. Make sure there are no open flames near your lift truck. Never fuel a forklift near an open flame or heat source. Turn the unit off during refueling. Make sure the operator knows which type of fuel to add. Be sure there's contact between the spout and the fill pipe before pumping. If you must use a can to refuel, make sure it's an approved container. Do not overfill the tank. Check for any leaks. Follow proper safety procedures when cleaning spilled fluid. Recharging electric lift trucks. Wear all prescribed safety equipment, face shield, rubber gloves, rubber apron, etc. Know the location of the nearest eye wash station / shower. Uncover battery compartment covers to prevent buildup of heat or hydrogen. Make sure the vent caps are not plugged. If the battery has sealed vents, do not recharge the battery with a current greater than 25 amps. The battery charger must be turned off, connecting it to the battery. Because of the danger of electrical arc, which will be igniting the hydrogen gas, keep tools and other metal objects away from the top of uncovered batteries. This includes rings and watches. Always use proper safety procedures when cleaning up spilled electrolyte. During the recharging process, batteries give off hydrogen gas. Make sure you recharge the battery in a well-ventilated area. This concludes the Power Industrial Truck section. When you're ready to take the quiz, please copy-paste the hyperlink into your browser.